Welcome to my channel, Love, Light, Liberty, and I'm your host, Rox Light. Today is Wednesday, April 1st, and we are full moon in Libra tonight. Even though we are in Aries season, the full moon will be in your opposite zodiac sign, and the opposite of Aries is Libra. It's also called the pink moon because the Native Americans called it the pink moon because of the pink spring flowers that came up. I'll be going over the full moon and the new moon cards for the month of April from the Moonology Manifestation Oracle card deck, followed by the mystery show and tell item. But this month it's just going to be a story that I'm going to tell you about, and then followed by our monthly ghost story. And the ghost story is going to be called Whispers in the Walls. I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So the Libra card for tonight is called Find a Balance. And as we can see, Libra is about the scales of justice and balance. Focusing on your own wants and needs is understandable. We all need to look after ourselves. However, this card suggests you need to find a balance between what you need versus what someone else needs. Walk a mile in their shoes. Once you understand where they're coming from and why, you can take action. If you've been through a worrying time, including regarding your health, this card reminds you to find the right people for help. Make up your mind about your situation rather than being too influenced by others. Manifesting balance. Find a balance between your own needs and what you do for others. Manifesting mindset. Remember that we're all co creating, so getting other people on your side by being understanding is a win win. Manifesting rituals can be add jasmine oil to your diffuser. Um, Asking your higher powers for help on manifesting any balance that you need in your life. Find a comfortable position and close your eyes. Open your heart and fill it with love, kindness, and gratitude. Your manifesting affirmation is there is love all around me. I am lovable. The best time to manifest your magic is when the moon's in Libra on a Friday. So the full moon in Libra takes place when the sun's in Aries and the moon is in Libra. I hate to sound like a broken record, but we live in a world where there isn't a lot of balance for us. We are constantly trying to realign our lives. And the only way I can find balance is going out in nature. Um, and that helps me kind of refocus on everything and kind of have peace in my life. I find that as balancing. But whatever's imbalanced in your life, it could be anything. It could be your health. Like when you're, say for instance, when you're sick, why are you sick? It's because you're unbalanced somewhere in your body and it manifests as sickness. So say you want to focus on improving your health because you feel unbalanced. Well, then you kind of have to break it all down and take a look at it and start proactively changing habits and your health practices and stuff like that. Say you're unbalanced with finances and money in your life. Well, then you need to um, read on how you can get that under control. Like I said, we're not born with how to manifest. All that is learned lessons that we have to go seek that knowledge and find it and then incorporate it in our lives. It's just not going to fall onto us and we're going to be like, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes and dream away that I'm rich. That's not really how you manifest. Like I told you guys before, I have this manifesting affirmation book. I'm just gonna like sometimes like refer back to it so you understand that manifestations are a learned process. This one's about light meditation, and this is under the chapter under health and wellness. So, sitting comfortably but upright, either in a chair or on cushions on the floor, close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. Take a nice, long, deep breath in and a long, slow breath out. Do this a few times until you feel yourself relax. Now imagine breathing in light and positivity and breathing out doubt and fear. In breath attracts light and love, and out breath releases the fear and worry. Do this as many times as you wish. Alternatively, as you breathe in, say in your mind the positive affirmation you have chosen for today or to work with for the time being. As you recite the uplifting phrase in your head, feel it flow into every cell, into your being, lightening you up with vitality and well being. Breathe out and allow any blocks to your abundant health to dissolve. Breathe in and see the manifestation of your affirmation expand into your aura, glowing with sparkling light and vibrant health. Keep releasing any blocks to your well being as you breathe out and imagine your health and well being improving as you breathe in. Sit in the glowing light of your incredible vitality and wellness for as long as you wish to help you feel light, clear, and healthy in every part of your being. I know when we're not feeling good and we're sick, we don't breathe correctly. What we do is we kind of like take short breaths and we're just not focused on breathing anymore, especially people that are suffering from pain. And it's something you have to remind them like, okay, we're going to take some slow, deep breaths now. We're going to go um, breathe in through your nose slowly, long, and then in and then out through your mouth and slowly breathe out. And then if you can refocus the mind on the breathing, then it kind of takes away their mind on their pain. So it's kind of like a lot of things is it's all in your mind as well. So you have to also have a positive mindset. If you want to change your life, it can't have a negative mindset. It has to be a positive mindset. We can change a lot with our mind. We are the creators of our world right now. So, what world do you want to live in and create your life and your surroundings to be? All right. Well, I hope that helps. And like I said, all of this is a learning thing to when it comes to manifesting. And there's a lot of books and maybe videos out there that can help you on whatever part of your life that you feel unbalanced on. Go look it up. Go read some about it. Just take little steps towards it, and you'll see a lot of like improvement. All right, hope that helps. Coming on to the new moon is going to be the next card. So the new moon for the month is going to be on April 17th, and the card for the manifestation for this month says, "Go for it." This card heralds good news, opportunities abound, and the outlook is positive. Go through the doors that are opening up to you. There's every reason to believe you'll create what you want, even if you feel a long way from your goal. Keep going and be courageous. Chase your dreams like childlike enthusiasm and expect your desires to be satisfied. Don't sit around making plans. Do take action. This is crucial. Chase your goal, believe in divine timing, in love, make the first move if you dare. Financially, be proactive. Manifesting focus, as this card is especially a good sign if you need more courage or determination, or if you're chasing someone or something. Manifesting mindset, be driven, determined, take action, ditch faint heartedness. Manifesting tips for boosting courage is, call in your higher powers, light a candle, hold the card to your heart chakra, and breathe in courage. And if you can do this ritual outdoors, so much better. Okay, manifestation affirmation. I am on the right track. Soon I will. When you manifest your magic, the best time to work your magic when the moon's in Aries on a Tuesday. The new moon in Aries takes place when the sun and the moon are in the same zodiac degrees of Aries. It's full of fire and childlike trust that everything is doable. Have you ever met anybody that talks a lot about doing this or that, but yet they never do it? They just sit and talk about it. That's not what an Aries is. Aries is a go for it kind of person. They're very determined, hardworking. Um, Nothing holds them back. And springtime's a wonderful time for the momentum of. I think the momentum on the planet like has this like fast forward time in the spring, and when even in nature when things kind of that were dormant all of a sudden now bloom and we have new life emerging. And so that's why I feel like springtime is very productive. And a lot of people are like, "Ooh, let's do spring cleaning." It's kind of like just a new energy. That's why we have all these seasons and days of the week of is because of different energies that we experience. And it's kind of funny that it said to on a Tuesday. Tuesday to me is, I think, for me is a very good financial day. If I had any choice of the week to do anything financial, to me it's Tuesday. I don't know why that is or how why I feel that way, but I always felt like Fridays when people get paid was like the worst financial day I consider out of the week. And I don't know if that's set up on purpose to make people feel defeated. Like, here's your check, never mind, you don't have it. Um, but I never felt like Fridays was a great financial day. But I think Tuesdays, I'll go for that one. That I think Tuesdays is a good day. Maybe you have another day that you pick, but that's the one I like. All right, so think about what you're going to do with your springtime. Also about finances, I believe, because people have to do their taxes during this time. Are you going to get a return? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to use it wisely or are you just going to blow it? Think about it. Don't just think about your choices wisely. Don't be like the fool card and just whatever, Now you see it, now you don't. Don't be like that. I think you can do a lot for your money if you plan it correctly for almost like the long term even. All right, I hope that helps. On to the show and tell part, and this is going to be a little short story. As you can tell, I'm not at my desk this month. It's because this week I just had a lot of family responsibilities that kind of took priority over me being able to do this at my desk. But I didn't want to cancel the show, so this is as good as I could do for you right now. I'll be back to the desk next month in May. So, the story time is going to be about my dog. Today is actually his birthday. I gave him the birthday April 1st because he came into my life as a surprise. And it was around April. I can't remember the exact day, but I said to myself when I met him that his birthday was going to be April 1st. So I'll be spending the day with the dog and doing fun things with him. And normally it's just going and getting a pop cup, going to the park. I get him some lunch, which he likes chicken strips. I get him a toy and we get to play. And it's just kind of a fun day. Take a nap with him. It's just a fun day to be with the dog. So he turned 9 today. He's a husky kind of shepherd. He's all white. That's why I put the little white dog here on the little slide. His name is Bolt. I named him after the Disney white dog, Bolt. He likes his name. And now let me tell you how he came into my life. So he's been in my life 8 years, even though he's 9. And I'll explain that in the story. So I had German Shepherd dogs for like 10 years. And when they passed, I was like, oh, I'm not ready for dogs anymore. This is really heartbreaking. And, I had said goodbye to my second German Shepherd in March of that year. And I was just not going to be having dogs for any time soon. But anyway, I'd taken my kids to school that morning, and I don't know, I had maybe ran an errand and I was kind of on a back road and I was coming back into the town and that back road kind of like runs across by a railroad track, and it's kind of also like farming and stuff like that. So I'm coming onto that road where there's kind of like an intersection, and then I see a field off to my right with cows, and then I see this white dog running around out there with the cows, and I was like, well, that's weird, maybe he's the farmer's dog. And then I see the dog see my car, and he kind of like runs like out onto the road, like maybe he was like trying to like run towards my car, or like. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna get involved. I don't know. It has to be a farmer's dog. He's with the cows. And then I was like, oh, he's so cute. You know what? I don't know. I need to find out if it whose dog it is, because he shouldn't be with the cows all by himself out here. And he's next to the train tracks. What if he gets run over? And I can reunite him with his owner. So I turned the car around. I opened the door and I said, come here, boy. And he jumps in the car. No hesitation. I didn't really have to convince him much. He was like, I'm ready to go with you, So the dog is full of cow dung. Smells terrible. Of course, I was raised on a farm, so it doesn't matter to me. I was like, okay, you're going to go home and you're going to get a bath, and then we are going to go check if you have a microchip. So then, while I'm picking up this dog, he's in my back seat. My daughter called me from school, said she wasn't feeling good, and she wanted me to pick her up. So like, okay, pit stop. Let's go to the school. She was like in middle school. Uh, I She comes to the car and she says to me, "Is that a dog in the back seat?" And I said, "Yeah. Well, there's been change of plans today. We're gonna go home and we're going to bathe this dog and take him to get his microchip checked." Of course, my daughter wasn't sick. She just didn't want to go to school that day. She was fine. So we went home with him and we gave him a shower, and we took him to right outside where I lived at the time was an animal shelter. And so I knew they had the scanning, gun, whatever it is called, to check for microchips. So I take him there, and he's very skinny. He's somewhat like underweight, so he's that's one thing to note. Skin condition's good, just no collar, and he's underweight. Anyway, he was microchipped, and there was a phone number connected to it, and the animal officer, whatever control officer, she calls the number. And she said, "Hey, we have your dog here." Because I was excited. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to reunite the owner with their dog." Like, I was feeling like productive. That was my whole goal, was to reunite. But that's not how the story went down. So she calls the lady, and the lady's like, "Oh, I don't, I don't want that dog. He runs away. Like he ran away." And we're like, she's like, "Where do you live?" And she's like, "San Antonio." And the town I was at was like 20 some miles outside of, well, actually almost 30 miles from where this lady lived. And the animal control officer's like, "How is this dog 30 miles from where you live?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't know. I gave it to my cousin." Or, "Well, what's your cousin's name?" She just wouldn't come up with that. And then she finally says, "Well, am I going to get in trouble?" So if you said the dog ran away, it's claiming he ran 30 miles away, I wouldn't doubt it, because I could see him run definitely 5 miles a day for sure, or more. But why would you say, am I going to be in trouble? Like, obviously, you took the dog in the car and dropped him off in another town and left him. And then, lo and behold, I found him and I picked him up. And she said, "No, we don't want him because he doesn't stay home. He runs away and he chews on shoes." Um, okay, so there was nothing the animal control officer could do at that time. I mean, she didn't want the dog. So I'm like, well, I don't know. I kind of thought, well, I guess maybe I'll take and look after him, I guess. Like, and it just kind of fell on me at that point, you know. It takes a while when somebody has a microchip on an animal. You have to like have that animal. I think there's some rules to it in each state, but in Texas, it was like 14 days. And after you've had the dog and you fed it and you took care of it and took it to the vet or whatever in the 14 days, then you can request the microchip ownership be transferred to you. So I waited the 2 weeks and transferred the microchip over information into my name. So I was the owner at that point, you know, and he got all the shots and stuff. The crazy thing is, I was in a very turmoil part of my life and I was moving, and this was not the opportune time for me to get a dog. Like, I was not in a good place mentally, and I definitely wasn't in a good place residentially. Like, so, and I didn't even know where I was moving to and what was happening. So I just felt like this was a very um, difficult time in my life. So I wasn't really wanting to even take this responsibility on, but I still did. And, you know, it was a total blessing. And so I can truly say things come in our life with divine timing. It's not our decision to decide when divine timing is. It's the universe's decision to decide what divine timing is. And I could say, oh, he came at a terrible time in life, but really he came at the right time and he came at the best time because he's been a really good friend. He understands my schedule and my sleeping schedule, my work schedule. He's patient and he is a little bit crazy. You know, he howls and talks a lot. He doesn't really bark. He's a talker, and so he vocalizes a lot, and maybe that gets on other people's nerves. Excuse me, but it doesn't get on mine. I mean, I'd rather hear him happy and talking like that. I really wish I had the technology, like a collar that would translate everything he says, but for now, we just have to like understand each other in our own ways. And another lesson I learned from this is just because you feel unloved or unimportant or somebody throws you away and acts like you're nothing, doesn't mean somebody else can see your value and think you're precious. So you gotta be in the right environment to thrive. And of course, the dog, he did probably chew on shoes. I think when I got him, he chewed on like two pairs, but he was doing that because he didn't know what a toy was or a bone. When I introduced him to a toy and a bone, he was um, kind of scared of it all. He didn't even know what to think of it. But then he realized, you know, okay, a shoe is not a toy. A toy I can chew. Like, and I didn't have any problems anymore. So I don't know. They probably had him locked up outside. He had nothing to do. He was bored and he saw shoes and he was like, whatever, I'm just going to chew on this because there's nothing else to do. And they, dogs are I'm sorry, interactive, and um, they like playing and they like that interaction and stuff like that. So yeah, he loves toys. The toy I bought him for his birthday was a big stuffed dragon that I got at Costco yesterday. So he was very excited when I showed him the dragon. So yeah, that's and I did do a little picture of him with against some flowers, and we did a video him eating his pup cup, and so he had a good day today, and his birthday happened to be on the full moon. Well, I hope so. When I took him to the vet, they thought because of his teeth that he was probably about a year or a year and a half old. So that's where his baseline was as far as age. And then as long as I've had him now, so I'm thinking he's starting his ninth year, and he could be 9.5 or whatever, but I'm going to just say 9. He has not aged where his body's like suffering. We walk a lot um every day, like several times a day. Like he acts like still like the same as when I first got him. Like when he was a year and a half, he's still acting like that now, and how old he is now. So He definitely doesn't age mentally, that's for sure, and physically he's doing great. So I hope I have him for many, many years to come. So the spooky ghost story is called Whispers in the Wall. It's chapter 10 in the Chasing Texas Style Ghost by Barry and Brad Klein. And like I've said before, these are ghost hunters that are from San Antonio, Texas. They're paranormal investigators that want to prove the existence is real phenomenon and not just somebody's imagination. So here's the story as it goes. So if I say the word Brad or Barry, those are the two brothers that are talking about the stories. Brad. Laura was living alone in a rented house on the outskirts of Fredericksburg, Texas, when she called us for help in the winter of 2008. There was definitely something strange going on, she told us. At first, the weird little incidences had just puzzled her, but lately they had escalated to the point that she was becoming genuinely terrified of the place. It's getting so bad that I'm thinking about breaking the lease and moving, she confessed. On several occasions, Laurel had draped sheets over the flowers in front of the house before going to bed at night to protect them from the cold air. Each time when she woke up the next morning, she found the sheets neatly folded and placed on her porch. She checked with the landlord to make sure he hadn't stopped by and removed the sheets. The house was isolated, so she couldn't dismiss it as the work of busybody neighbors. Maybe some kids had passed by on bikes and decided to play a prank on her. Then, late one evening, after a week later, someone rang her doorbell. Laurel walked over to the door, and rather than open it, she peeked out the glass pane at the top. There was no one standing outside. The next night, the same thing happened. Long before the bell was sounding every night. Each time it did, Laurel would trudge wearily to the door and peer out the pane at the top, only to find that the front porch was deserted. The routine was so annoying and unnerving for a woman living alone in such a remote location, but she thought it might be someone's idea of practical joke. She assumed she was a victim of a ding dong ditchum game, and a couple of preteens were probably couching behind the bushes nearby, cracking up whenever they saw her face at the door. She thought about calling the police to report what seemed like harassment, but after what happened next, she contacted us instead. It was around midnight when Laurel was sitting alone in her living room watching TV when she suddenly felt overcome by the eerie sensation that somebody was watching her. Thinking instantly about the prankster she assumed had been ringing her doorbell every night, she glanced towards the window. To her horror, she saw the face of what looked like a Native American man looking through the glass at her. Too shocked and frightened to move, she stayed rooted in her chair, her eyes locked on his. As she stared at him, his features slowly morphed into the face of a leering white skull against a backdrop. She raced to her bedroom, locked the door, and called the police. But when they showed up, they couldn't find any sign of intruders. There, there wasn't even any telltale footprints outside the window. Laura wasn't surprised. She was sure that the terrifying face belonged to something supernatural. There was no doubt in her mind that the house that she was renting was haunted, not by friendly spirits. Given the location, it made sense. The property was in the middle of what was had been known to be Apache and Comanche territory, and it bordered Enchanted Rock, a gigantic pink granite dome where archaeological research indicates the ancestors of the Plains Indians lived more than 10,000 years ago. As the name suggests, Native American legend held that the dome was a highly magical place. Some believed it was a gateway to the spirit world. We agreed to check out Laurel's house, a tiny 1,200 square foot ranch, to see whether we can collect any evidence to substantiate or alleviate her fears. Of course, there was a number of possible explanations that had nothing to do with ghosts. Laurel might really be the victim of a prankster or peeping Tom who decided to take his game to a new, more threatening level. You can find battery powered Halloween masks that change colors and let you create other special effects. Maybe somebody in a mask stood outside Laurel's house at midnight just to scare her. Then again, Laurel might have had what you call a hypnagon, I don't know how to say that word, some kind of hallucination, a sort of waking dream that happens when a person is hovering between sleep and wakefulness. The episode can be accompanied by temporary full body paralysis. People don't always recognize it as a product of their subconscious mind because they are convinced that when they are still awake, they're still awake when it happened. We decided to bring along a member of the newest unit of the Everyday Paranormal team, the Canine Unit, when we visited Laurel's house. Naturally, we got permission from her and from her landlord. The concept of using animals in paranormal investigative work would catch on soon and inspire a TV series a year later. But when we headed out to Fredericksburg that cold winter evening, we didn't know of anyone else who was experimenting with the technique. We just recognized that animals, dogs in particular, had more keenly tuned senses than humans, and we thought it would be interesting to observe them during our investigations to see whether their actions corresponded to the evidence we collected. If they did, we would have another way to correlate data. The dogs we used weren't specifically trained, they were just our own everyday pets and those of our team members. Incidentally, we weren't disappointed by the canine unit experiments. In a number of investigations, our dogs reinforced what we caught on video and audio. They reacted to the rooms where we caught evidence, and they were most panicked in the cases where the tones of the EVPs were most menacing. Why did it happen? Are animals psychic? You hear all kinds of crazy superstitions about animals being able to see ghosts. There's even an old wives' tale that says if you stand behind a dog when he sees a ghost and look over his head directly between his ears, you'll see the ghost too. That's nonsense, of course. We think there's more logical scientific explanation. Animals are tuned into things humans miss altogether. For example, lots of them know when a storm is approaching and react, probably because they are more highly sensitized to electromagnetic activity and subtle changes in the environment, like shifts in air pressure. That might explain the numerous cases of animals anticipating earthquakes or other natural disasters. It's not intuition, it's biology. It made sense for us to hypothesize that dogs might react to subtle changes in energy levels and other environmental factors triggered by paranormal activity, too. Some dogs know when their owner's coming home 10 minutes or more before he reaches the house. They start hovering around the front door, whining, pacing, and thumping their tails long before they hear footsteps or the rumble of tires in the driveway. Why do they do that? Certain domestic animals can tell when a human is happy, sad, frightened, angry, or sick, and they respond accordingly, staying out of the way. And if you are in a bad mood, or or they hop onto your lap to nuzzle you if you're depressed. We don't think that they had anything to do with telepathy, but we thought it might suggest that animals have the ability to pick up on some energy certain strong emotions generate. It stood to reason that if ghosts generated anything resembling human emotions like grief or rage, a dog might pick up on energy shifts those emotions generated too, and exhibit some sort of corresponding action. The dog that accompanied us to Laurel's house was a 5-year-old male boxer named Keto with a friendly, mellow disposition. He came into the place wagging his tail, and we led him through the various rooms, letting him sniff and explore to his heart's content. He showed his usual curiosity in most parts of the house, but then, to our surprise, as he neared the master bedroom, he froze. You could see his entire body stiffen and his hairs rise. The fur along his neck and his backbone bristled. A split second later, he spun around and tore down the hallway from the bedroom as if he'd gotten zapped with an electric shock. The animal was beyond terrified. He slammed headlong into a wall before he was so because he was so desperate to get away. The pain of the banging of his head didn't even seem to faze him. He just bounced off the wall, scrambled to regain his footings, and lit out of there. We marked the time and location of the dog's extreme reaction and continued to investigate. Back with the rest of the team in the living room, Kito had calmed down, though he refused to venture anywhere near the bedroom again. We went back to the bedroom without him and launched into another EVP session. Barry made an offhand comment that struck me as funny, and I started chuckling, and he joined in, and long before we were both laughing uncontrollably. If you ever see us on Ghost Lab, you'll know that we've both got a sense of humor and that we are prone to crack up at times when you expect us to be serious. Sometimes one of us will crack a joke just to ease the tension of sitting in the dark room for hours trying to catch an EVP. At other times, we just make jokes as deliberate technique designed to elicit a paranormal response. During the session, we were so loud we wouldn't have heard much anyway, but on the recording the next day, a sudden heavy pounding was clearly audible over our laughter, as if someone was banging repeatedly on the bedroom wall in response to the noise we were making. Then a deep, loud male voice responded on the tape, saying, and sounded like the word Jones. On the recording, we continued to crack up and talk as if we had never knew that had happened. A short time later, when there was a distinctive growl and a voice matter of factly saying 6 o'clock, perhaps the most disturbing of all was a direct response, one as the first we ever captured to my provoking. I was getting impatient with the lack of activity, and I told the ghost, "You need to get out here right now." On the recording, the same deep masculine voice characterized the other EVP answered no. All the recordings were Class A EVPs, clearly audible voices speaking easily distinguishable words in English. All came across at a frequency too low to reach the threshold of human hearing and too low to have been an actual human's voice or random radio broadcast we might have mistaken for disembodied spirit voices. And every one of them sounded angry and menacing, in my opinion. As far as ghosts that might have been haunting the place, the possibilities were endless. You couldn't find a location more uh, rife with ancient Indian legends and creepy ghost stories than Enchanted Rock. The spirits of Native American Spanish warriors fallen in battle supposedly roamed the rock at night. Members of the forgotten tribe slaughtered by rivals were said to wander the area bent on revenge. There were even tales of bloody human sacrifices taking place on top of the enchanted rock and disembodied screams echoing down the hillsides. According to one story, you can still see footprints on the rocky surface made by a ghost of a chief who sacrificed his daughter and was condemned to to haunt the granite dome for eternity, filled with remorse. Over time, sensational stories like these tend to accumulate around famous historic landmarks. They're kind of tourists and Boy Scouts on camping trips that they gobble up. But there is often a kernel of truth even in the tallest tale. Was it possible that restless Native American spirits were manifesting at Laurel's house? If so, why was the activity increasing so dramatically? Why was it becoming so much more hostile? There had to have been some change in the environment that was triggering it, something that was serving as a generator, powering up all that paranormal activity. We sat down with Laurel to discuss the evidence we had collected during our investigation and to probe more deeply into possible explanations for the heavy paranormal activity she had been experiencing recently. Nothing in our initial interview suggested the kind of dramatic change in an environment that would give rise to the sudden appearance of ghosts, whether ancient spirits tied to Enchanted Rock or more recent ones linked to somehow the actual house Laurel was renting. You said you lived here for almost a year, but all that activity just started recently, right? I asked her. That's right, she said. It's been happening for a little more than a month now. Has anything changed about your house recently? I asked. Have you or your landlord made any renovations or repairs? Laurel shook her head. Is there any construction going on around here? Not that I know about. I racked my brain, but there must be something we were missing. Have you moved anything outside the house? Maybe dug up some of the dirt to plant flowers? The flowers were here when I moved in, she said. The only thing I moved was that big pile of rocks in the back of the house. What rocks? I was going to make a fire pit for barbecuing, so I decided to move a bunch of rocks someone left out back. Bingo. Given the history of the place, it was quite possible that those rocks had significance for some group of Native American people at some point in time. For all we know, we were sitting on some sacred ground from centuries ago. Maybe it was a burial site. The guardian spirit might have been sent to watch over those rocks and bones that once lay beneath them. If Laurel had accidentally disturbed the final resting place of someone's ancient ancestors, or even someone with an attachment to that stretch of land and that little house is sitting on, she might have ticked off a ghost or two. We wanted to find out how moving a pile of rocks had altered the physical conditions. It seemed that to us that Laurel had somehow accidentally turned the area into a better conductor of electricity, creating some kind of high EMF, and we are convinced it's conductive to paranormal manifestations. Granite is known to contain higher than average levels of uranium, and houses in areas with high uranium levels are more apt to have high levels of radon in them. Was uranium or the radon it produces when it decays hidden in the soil under the rocks or in the rocks themselves? If so, Laurel's actions might have released it and given ghosts that they had wanted to manifest for who knew how long the opportunity would last. We offered to come back with some ground penetrating radar vibration testing machines and other equipment that might have yielded more data about the geology around the property. We were willing to look into the history of the house and the land under it to see if we could unearth some former occupants, builders that might have stood there before Laurel's house was constructed. But when Laurel heard our EVPs, she made up her mind. I don't want I don't want to say anything, y'all, but I had a psychic visit the house before you did, and she informed us that the psychic told me she picked up on a male presence in the bedroom and that she heard a lot of hammering and the ghost might be a carpenter. She also told me she was getting the name Jonas or Jonesy. We were speechless. It was the first time that a psychic's insights had ever meshed with our evidence. Laurel's information reminds us that in our line of work, we've got to stay non-judgmental and open-minded. Sometimes legitimate collaborative data can come from unlikely sources. Unfortunately, we never got the chance to return and dig up more deeply into the bizarre going-ons on the rental house in Fredericksburg. Laurel broke her lease, packed up pronto, and moved out after a week of reviewing the evidence we had with her. Well, what do you think of that story? I've been to Fredericksburg, Texas several times, and I've climbed the Enchanted Rock Mountain. And I did look up one time that you can look up online. There's a website through the Texas Parks and Recreation about Enchanted Rock, but it is on some ley lines. And when any Earth is on ley lines, there is higher like activity of paranormal or even UFO or anything odd in those areas. It's just higher energy, and so And yes, it is considered a sacred mountain to the Native Americans. I didn't know that they had sacrificed on the top of that mountain. That's where we climb to, is the very top. That's where everybody wants to have the best, uh, to look out and see the whole countryside there, the hill country. It takes about at least an hour or so to climb all the way up that mountain. And my kids and I decided to do it on 100-degree temperature in the middle of summer, which is crazy. But yeah, we did that. And it is remarkable to be up there on that little dome. It's like a dome. It's flat on the top of that mountain once you get up there. Um, Yeah, that's very interesting. Who folded the sheets in the morning and laid them down, and who? How can you manifest your picture of your that you're a Native American, then all of a sudden you turn into a skeleton? And how do you make the voices? Like, they're talking, they're saying words like 6 o'clock or Jonas or whatever. Uh, the people are still existing on another timeline. There's no other explanation for it. They are existing, they are alive, but they're in a different timeline. But yet they're walking in kind of still the world that they once knew. It's kind of weird how these Tesla trucks will see people that aren't there, and they're like walking around, they're like, hey, look, everybody, there's Tesla showing, the cameras are showing people walking, but there's no one there. I wonder if the cameras somehow can pick up on capturing people on a different timeline. I'm not sure, but something to think about. Well, if you ever go to Fredericksburg, Texas, and you decide to climb Enchanted Rock and have the most memorable experience of your life, I would suggest to do it. Staying the night there, I'm not so sure if you want to camp there or not. I think it would be a little bit spooky. I'd probably wouldn't want to camp alone, but um, I'm sure you will experience something paranormal when you go. All right. Well, take care. I'll see you guys next month in May. And May has actually two full moons for the month, one in the beginning and one at the very end, because May is our long month with 31 days. So I'll see you in May. I hope you guys have a good full moon. Take care.